like 85% transactions for a normal pet, 15% are different, and some of them are very unusual. And it's very, very powerful. We think that's going to change auditing totally, but I think this is much more digestible at this moment because this is similar. It's just instead of going sampling, go with full population, that you have to retake it. But one of our MADS project is using process mining data in addition to the traditional.
Right, so that's, yes, that's the powerful tool. I believe the audit is supposed to be go that way. So what we are interested in, if you audit old days, we use those audit trails, start with a purchase order and whether it's properly authorized, whether that's, the item is a ship, we, issue the invoice, we make the payment, we do the 3A matching. And the process mining give us those audit trail. If everything is okay, right? There is no reason we have to take a look at it. Properly, the order was properly made and shipped, and every numbers are matched. That's, I call it normal transaction. If any of this step is violated, right, deviate from those normal steps, I consider it an outlier. In addition to this step, and we can look at the dollar amounts, because of the materialities, we are not going to be able to look at every single, $1 or $2, the fraud. So if you apply this MAD with the, process mining, there will be a strong evidence when you do the internal audit or external audit.
We have five papers on this, both of them academic, and we have a professional version, which are easier to read. Jamie, you put them together, correct? If you don't mind, can you, but you have to keep it under wraps still, because we haven't totally cleared it with the AICPA. But there is no secret here, you have been presenting it all over the world. So, Jamie, give it to Abby to give it to them.
Professional one, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, if you want to move this forward with this idea, what's the protocol? Because our protocol is that the way that we do it is when this will be our second continuous auditing. We call it continuous monitoring. We don't call it auditing. We've done it with our treasury payments. We have a process now where we are applying more machine learning techniques. But for this project, me also we're trying to figure out our protocol is the way we do it is that we will do it on ourselves as if we are doing an audit, and then we develop a plan. We develop it, we run it for maybe a couple of years, then we give it to the client because it's their job, not our job. But for us, it gives us a chance to learn, and then we will develop it, and then we'll hand it over to them because we are more like a third line of defense, not the second line. And that is our terminology. So we are interested so that in that way we get into machine learning, we learn about it, and we'll test it out for a couple of years, and then after that we'll hand over the tool to the client, our clients. And then they will take it over. So that's our protocol.
We don't have a protocol. Each situation we negotiate it, figure out what makes sense. Meaning, when we started Radar, all the firms were going to give us data. No one gave us data except one of the large firms, which Jamie worked. And for a while, the data was not usable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Finally, we got enough explanation that we could use. So the other 4 data sets were public data, 3 public data sets, and he used BibTalk, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, he used a public data set. And one of them was not exactly a public data set, but we had the data, so the process mining stuff. Okay, so it kind of adapt to the situations very carefully. The things we're doing in Australia, they ask the client, we're going to meet with the client, and we're going to go that way. And there in Australia, we have a member of the Australian Standards Board participate. And so we call it the experimentation project. And in the experimentation project, the idea is that the auditor, the client, us, and the regulator participate so we can go away from the traditional norms and try something different. But we implement it in very different ways, and that's what we're planning.
If you want to carry this
area can do things. And so we are a reasonably large group now, so we can do it. Or maybe Helen can run the project. We'll see who can do it. Let's kind of get the first step of figuring out what we're going to do, and then we'll find the people that are more skilled to do it.
No, I'm actually thinking much more forward. This is what we're gonna do on ourselves. This procurement, these are things that we buy for ourselves.
We like what we do.
These are things that we buy for
Well,
our
it's the
institutions.
process mining project, it's a procurement project. Here we have procurement project. I bet in my meetings I have 5 procurement projects.
Our big procurement are those that the countries buy. I mean, that runs into, those are what you call project procurement, those are where the big money are, the dams and all this. This is our institution procurement basis. So we are more in control of all those data. Well, I'm thinking that regardless of what system we use, in our case we call it e-procurement, it's a way of capturing the data. But I think tomorrow, a few of us are actually going for a meeting on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We have about 10 of us in the group. We call ourselves the MFIs. We are head of audit for all the 10 of them. And I tell you who they are. There are 3 Washington, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, Inter-American World Bank. EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction in London. European Investment Bank in Luxembourg. African Development Bank in Cote d'Ivoire, in West Africa. So, and then the Islamic Development Bank, and the 2 banks based in China, located in China, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank in Beijing, New Development Bank in Shanghai, and us. So there are 10 of us. We are all head of audits, and we meet about once a year. So I actually like this idea, and I was thinking we need to figure out, maybe not this year, maybe next year, we'll try to figure out how to crystallize that idea to it. Because if it's useful for us, it could be useful for them too. That's what I'm trying to say. It's something that we do as internal auditors. We learn something good that we think, but we have to do it on ourselves first.
But that's what we like, is a multiplier effect.
Right.
Because, we can do one project, we can do other. So we
So
like
this
the
could be-
multiplier effect. She'll be back in China, maybe she can help you.
But this could be something that's similar to radar.
Yeah, yeah.
The-
Then you could create
Right.
Asian Development Bank radar,
Mhm.
something like where many partners, everyone contributes a little bit, and we did it. The radar worked very well. You can talk to the SCBA if you want, but we've done many things.
And you're likely to get more when you start to have to, especially because the banking industry is so regulated, right? So when you have a mass in terms of these things that you're trying to roll out or solutions, when you go to the regulators, you have more power, I think, right? More
Right.
bargaining power.
In our case, our institutions are more self-regulated,
Okay,
so we are in a sense quite
unique.
Are unique in a sense because our regulators are actually our board of directors, which are basically all the governing countries of all the countries. We have about 70 of them, so World Bank is 118.
So guys, let's present fast because we're running, you can choose if you want to drop something here. But I think we'll just do some fast presentation because the discussion is more important really than the go happy.
Okay. So actually, the presentation here is not really about machine learning or text mining. So this robotic process automation is basically about the workflow analysis, and we focus on audit. And it can be applied in both internal audit as well as the external audit. So, the process, robotic process automation is just a new way of automation that has some features, which people think is more convenient. So the unique feature about this robotic process automation is that it automates through the presentation layer. So people say that this is kind of an overlay of the current automation tools. So I will just give some overview of how this technology has been used today. So from Deloitte report, most of the applications are in accounting and finance. And in internal audit, people are seeing the potential of RPA. And actually, in November, we invited HP internal audit group, and they presented how they apply robotic process automation in their internal audit. And we are also running several RPA projects in the external audit. And we applied it to single audit, which is a kind of funding audit. So the funding is always given by the US government and give it to states, universities, and auditors needs to see how those fundings are used, whether something is appropriate. And we also apply it to pension audits. And also, we are seeing the potential in the internal audit. And Andrea Rosario, Dr. Rosario, she proposed a prototype of how to apply robotic process automation in audit. So basically, first we need to develop a vision, and then identify the procedures in audit that are suitable for automation. And basically, we follow the rules that the audit procedures should be rule-based, repetitive, manual, because the whole purpose of this RPA, one of the purposes of RPA is to increase the efficiency. So we want to find out what are the repetitive work that auditors do so that RPA can jump in and automate them. And after that, we always break down the procedures into granular steps so that we can build the prototype based on it. But before that, we found that it's always the case that the data obtained by auditors from different clients are unstructured. So we need to establish a standardization to kind of standardize the data. So we put the audit data standardization in one of the steps in the framework. And after we develop the prototype, we need to test several field engagements and receive feedbacks and revise the prototype. And if we find anything that needs to be changed, we can go back. So this is just a very intuitive framework of how we apply RPA in audit. And I will just show some of the projects that we did for some CPA firms in external audits. And we can always apply the same methodology in internal audit. So this use case is how we apply this RPA in the audit planning phase in the single audit. And this case is very interesting so the CPA firm, they heard about RPA and they want to save some time in their audit planning in a single audit. So they first made a list of all the procedures that are very time consuming, that are very repetitive, and then they came to us and say, hey, we want to do something about them. However, we think that the list they provided a little bit vague about how they actually perform the tasks. So we say that maybe we can go and visit your office and observe how you actually do the audit. And after that, we visited them, and then we redesigned their audit procedure in a way that is more organized. So the redesigned procedure is basically that the auditors need to complete this planning worksheet. And in the procedure, for each question on the work document, the auditors needs to refer to other documents. For example, what they call expense report, and calculate the total expenditure and compare the total with the previous year. All those what we call rule-based procedures. So we kind of reorganize the whole thing and make it clear, make it more efficient, and then we automate the procedure based on that. And this is the automation architecture that we designed for them. So I will not introduce each of them because it's very related to single audit. But the basic idea is that we kind of create an environment where the auditors needs to interact with the robotic process automation to achieve a more efficient and more efficient audit planning procedure. So we kind of think that this automation is a precursor to continuous audit as well as like data analytics, because as you automate the procedures, right, the data can be automated, like be collected automatically, and then from there you can build machine learning applications as well as other things that you want. So we start from automation. And we use a software called the UiPath to achieve the whole thing. And so that's one example. And another example of this application is in the confirmation procedure. I guess this can also be used in the procurement procedure where you need to confirm like whether different parties have agreed upon certain things. But this is done in external audit, but as I said, it can also be applied in internal. So the confirmation procedure is just where the auditors need to obtain evidence from a third party to see whether information match or agreements have been reached. So this use case is, in this use case, the auditors need to log into this confirmation.com, which is the third party website. And then they need to just, so they have a list. So this is very small, but basically they have a list of the clients that they need to check. And based on the list, they need to search the information of that client and obtain relevant information. But in the procedure, they have a lot of rules. For example, okay, if I search this client, if the client appears, then I do this, otherwise I do that. If this whole procedure is done by auditors, it's very time consuming and very error prone. So one of our PhD graduates, Freddie, he sat with the auditors and figured out how the rules are applied, and then he documented the whole thing, and then he coded the rules in UiPath. So now instead of auditors perform all the procedures, it's what we call the bot that execute the whole thing. I don't think I have time to play that video, but I will send you via maybe Dropbox.
Machine learning about POC.
Yeah.
The whole thing is actually
Bot.
designed for.
Yes. So we've done several projects in RPA, but in the procedure I found that so the RPA is actually belonging to what I call a broader set, predefined process automation. So by this name it means that to achieve RPA we need to have a set of predefined rules, right? Because it's based on rules, rule-based. But this can be problematic because sometimes the combination of situations can be humongous, which makes the coding very extensive and sometimes impossible to do. So I think and also some of the procedures are not rule-based, right? We cannot write down the rules of doing things. So I'm projecting the future that maybe we could have this intelligent process automation, which is a combination of this RPA and AI, machine learning. So this could be my dissertation. However, I'm not so sure, but yeah, I will try my best. So I have a paper about a conceptual paper about the intelligent process automation, and in this paper I just came up with some frameworks, conceptual frameworks of what is RPA, what is IPA, and what can it do, and how the auditors stay engaged in this whole IPA environment. So if we have, I think this is so IPA essentially is a kind of ecosystem where different technologies coexist. So as I said, once we have the automation, we can add other applications on top of it. For example, the textual structural analysis, the machine learning, and when it comes to audit, we can add data analytics, and sometimes we can use drones to help in the procedure. So this auditor in the loop IPA ecosystem is to address the concern that people say if automation comes in, then auditors will lose their job. But we think that it's not that scary, because what automation can do is only to take the structured tasks, rule-based and repetitive tasks, but the other kind of tasks are still done by auditors. And we argue that these technologies could help enhance the audit quality, because first of all, the time spent on those manual and repetitive tasks will be hugely reduced, and also the auditors may have more time to focus on the like judgmental tasks. And also the automation can help reduce the errors and biases in the whole audit procedure. So we think that like everything put together, the audit quality should be enhanced. And I argue that in this IPA facilitated audit environment, actually we can construct the audit workflow driven by IPA. So this means that if we apply this framework to each phase of the audit engagement, it's like Henry Ford workflow, where it's just like human-machine interaction, like cooperation, to achieve a better audit. Now we jump back. So we think that the RPA has great potential in, I would say, especially internal audit, because we see some pushback from external audit domain because of all the regulations, because of the PCAOB. So we think that actually in internal audit, the auditors can really leverage the business of RPA, and yeah, so that's, yeah.
Thank you. You mentioned HP internal audit.
Yes. Yeah, they are using RPA in their, yeah. And also many others.
But because if they are internal audit, I mean, it is possible, I mean, you can use.
Oh, yes. Actually, they are very willing to share the
You want to
knowledge.
actually learn from each other.
Yes.
Auditors talk.
Yes.
But our issue is our data is of financial data. Our data are narrative data.
Mm.
So in most of audit that we do, we using a lot of narrative data. That's where our complication is. That's the reason why we like to automate many things. One is either our data is not in digital form, or it is not financial data, but rather narrative data. What we meant by that is that when our project people visit the country, and they didn't look at projects that even finance, they prepare what they call a sample office report. There are a lot of stuff there. And we're trying to figure out how to extract the data and use it for some purpose and kind of thing.
Oh, yeah,
A lot
actually,
of-
yes.
So we have to read all these documents.
Actually, I skipped one slide, which is actually very important. Yeah, could you please, I think it's, about the scope of RPA, yes. So I think that the RPA is ideal for this kind of swivel chair task, where, okay, you have this, you have the data from this kind of software, let's say Excel, and then you need to extract that information, process them, and put them into another system. So it's kind of like the involvement of different applications or softwares or files. So the RPA is very good for this kind of task. So what you mentioned in that in the automation that you want to achieve is to extract information from one file, right? So that the people can utilize them in a very efficient way. I think that's a good use case. And the real benefit is that if we can automate it, it can really save a lot of time and reduce a lot of errors.
You know, our back office.
Although the data of Trey's talking about is more literally unstructured data, like 3-page report on what we saw in the project in Afghanistan, for example. So you have to consume the report and see, okay, is there's something indicating that something is going wrong in terms of, for example, environmental safeguards or
So it's a description, like a verbal description, is a written?
It's all,
that's actually
that's where our
our
issue,
big
we
challenge.
spend a lot of time on.
He's gonna say something about it, Paxton Analytic, that's
So
what we are
I was
doing.
thinking, when you were talking about some applications, if you remember for our private sector operations, we do a lot of due diligence work on, for example, we want to verify that we're not investing in companies that support, linked with terrorists or environmental. So I think they have like a systematic way of checking the ownership structure of a company. This one could be a potential area.
Yeah.
For the due diligence,
It's repetitive.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'll share a code with you.
Yeah, please.
Okay, before I share the code, you talk about IPA. One of my colleagues, his name is Andrew Wang. We are doing continuous monitoring. We're using our rule base.
Yeah.
It's trying to migrate to machine learning.
Mhm.
So because some of the exceptions, because the rules are as good as
Yeah,
Okay, my man.
yes, yes, yes.
person, but they're trying to, he's trying to move that into more machine learning. I'm not sure whether that fits with what you call IPA.
Yeah, actually, yeah. It's kind of a combination.
Okay, because my colleague is doing that now, because he writes scripts and, so he's also struggling with that as well. So I don't know whether maybe I can put you in touch with.
Yeah,
Andrew.
I think, yeah.
Because so that's the intelligent part of it. He's trying to move into more machine learning.
Predictive.
No, no, because some of the exceptions are really okay. Because rules can be written as well as how we write the rule. Right? So we're trying to reduce the number of exceptions by having a machine to learn that exception is okay. Good,
Okay.
false negative. It's more than that.
Yeah, I would love to have a deeper conversation to see how we can approach this whole thing. Yeah.
And the code which I want to share is I happen to be acquainted with this chief data officer of the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Brilliant guy, and he told basics always that same thing is done twice frequently.
Yeah.
And then, you know what we are moving towards, he's trying to drive the, his monetary authority say Reserve Bank. They're trying to move the direction there because MES, Monetary Authority of Singapore, they have the safeguard division, they have the regulatory division, the accounts, everybody collects data using checklists. Checklist. And but sometimes as far as the financial institution is concerned, if a regulator is asking me the information, I give them. Sometimes we don't understand what they want, but we just give them. So his vision is to move away from all those things. He says, why don't you just give all your data? Then we will tell you. Don't give us a data based on a checklist. So what they do is they collect all the data and then they will find a way to split the data so everybody in the MES can actually use them. Singapore could do this kind of thing because they're quite authoritative. They can ask, okay, give me all your data.
Also, they are very,
Yeah. So instead of
very automated, they are very electronic. I teach every
So they're moving that direction, so actually I'm quite amazed because as a regulator, see, don't give me the checklist data that I asked for, just give me all your data. Collect all your data and then they have a way of, they're looking at how to actually analyze the data so that the accounts division can use it, the regulators can use it, and other can use it. So it's a different mindset altogether. So as far as the institution is concerned, here's my data, no more checklist. So otherwise, some of the checklists are duplicated. So for financial institutions, they get very frustrated. You're asking me the same information, someone else is asking me from the same institution. So now they're moving that direction. I don't think they're there yet, but that's the vision.
Oh, I like that idea.
I like
Give me
that
all the
idea.
data.
I like
We
it.
like
I like it.
We like that idea a lot.
But I was trying to invite him to come in August, and he's not available. So maybe I'll try to see whether I can
I'm
put him on the
teaching that
phone.
in February, if you want to give you.
I'll give his contact.
Yeah.
He you like him, he's Dr. something, Hardoon, David Hardoon.
And he's in the regulatory authority, not in the university.
No, he's an, monetary authority. He's a chief data officer. Yeah.
So let's go with Zhao Kai. We are not going to finish everything, so let's just go as far as we can.
Sure, I'll go fast.
Yeah. Go fast.
Yeah, my name is Ian.
We can take 8 o'clock, sir.
Oh, go home.